2025 began with a deadly incident in New Orleans being labeled as a terrorist attack. And joining us now to discuss this further is counterterrorism expert Colonel David Gavigan. Colonel, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Dan.
So would you mind just giving us your initial thoughts on this recent incident?
Well, usually the FBI comes out and says that there's no nexus toward terrorism. This time they've turned it completely around, especially with the second explosion over in Las Vegas when that vehicle exploded under the Trump Tower overhang. Both vehicles involved in these two incidents, New Orleans and Las Vegas, were rented from the same truck agency. So there's certainly a lot of tie-ins coming about, and what the FBI knows right now is far more than is being released. You have to kind of hold back on giving all the information you have. But I think that this type of an event or incident, this type of an incident where the vehicle crashed into a large crowd, just imagine the Boston Marathon. Now, people say, well, what do you mean the Boston Marathon? There's 26 miles of road, Dan. You could take a vehicle, pull it into a driveway, okay? Let's say the people are on vacation. Nobody knows. You pull a vehicle in and pull out onto the route behind the runners and start down the path. I did a threat analysis for the 100th running of the Boston Marathon, and one of the things that I said was a real threat was the finish line because of the high media there and the number of spectators. And sure enough, 14 years later, we had the Boston Marathon explosion. But I worry about large crowds, and you don't think about the Boston Marathon as being a large crowd, but thousands of runners are coming down. If a vehicle pulled out of a driveway, got behind them, and started up, they wouldn't even know it was coming. So they're going to have to take a look at how they can better secure the route of the Boston Marathon. It's going to be very difficult.
Now, one of the things is this appears to be an ISIS-inspired attack. And how do you prevent something like that? Because sometimes people can just see a video or go to a website and become inspired, and they might not have had any link to anything before that. So how do you prevent something like that?
Very difficult, Dan. It is very difficult, especially when you have Americans. I mean, this guy who was driving the vehicle was in the U.S. Army Reserve. Was selling real estate. He had I watched the video that he made, very coherent, would not jump out at you. But these people are in the country now. We've seen so many come across the southern border in the past few years. It's in the hundreds. So until we find them, and those are the ones we know. How about the ones who got into the country that we don't know? And we often think of the southern border. Dan, the northern border is just as bad.
All right. Well, thank you so much for speaking with us this morning. We do appreciate it.
Okay, Dan. Take care. Bye now.